do not believe I have to ask you this question, but the question is, have you ever been afraid before? And 99% of everyone I will ever ask this to will say yes. Now, I know I've talked about fear before. You guys might not have known because there's like a lot of people here that probably weren't there before, but I had talked about fear before, but I would like to discuss it again because it's very personal for me and I want to say more that I know now. I have a few fears. One of them being, if you know me, you know I absolutely hate bugs. I do not like bugs, like extremely, and if there is a bug in a room, I will decide that that room is not worth to go in. And I'm even scared of grasshoppers. I know, but you know, my dad, he actually he doesn't. I think he likes bugs basically. But in talking about my dad, he also has a fear that some of y'all might know, and it's the fear of jewelry. What's that called again?
Cosmemophobia.
Cosmemophobia. And you know, this is really, really funny whenever my mom decides that she wants to look nice for the day. Anyways, but this isn't talk about your fears and stuff, class. This is Bible class. So, on the topic of the Bible, there are plenty of characters and people in the Bible that have felt fear, like my dad said, Jesus in the garden. Also Elijah, which we just talked about a few weeks ago. Was that last week or a few weeks ago?
It was last week, believe it or not.
What?
Last week.
Last week, right. Yeah, we talked about last week for BBS. But there's one that, it goes around a lot in the topic of fear, and I feel like everyone here probably knows it, but if you don't, it's the story of Jonah. So I'd like to read a bit of it. I like to read a bit of it, if that's fine with y'all. Don't answer. Anyways. Jonah flees from the Lord. The word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. It's a hard name, wow. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before me. But Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed for Tarshish. I think that's how you say it. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound for that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord. Now, we are human. But this is dumb. If you think that you can flee from the Lord, then you are wrong, because the Lord is always with you. Anyways, let's read the next part. Then the Lord sent a great wind on the sea, and such a violent storm arose that the ship threatened to break up. All the sailors were afraid, and each cried out to his own God, and they threw the cargo into the ship to lighten the sea. Now back then, a storm wasn't a little hiccup that you'd have on the sea. No, a storm was much, much worse. And that's why you find so many examples in the Bible of people being absolutely mortified by them. And remember, this ship, they had to throw away some of the cargo they were taking because the ship would break, the ship would sink. Imagine you are on that ship. There is probably one or two things you're gonna feel while you're there. One of them, the most prominent, being fear. Anyways, so what happens next is all of the sailors, they're afraid, very, very afraid. So they decide to cast lots to see who did it. And guess where the lots end? On Jonah. So they ask him who he is and where he's from. He answered, I am a Hebrew, and I worship the Lord, the God of heaven, who made the sea and the dry land. This terrified them, and they asked, what have you done? They knew he was running away from the Lord because he had already told them so. The sea was getting rougher and rougher, so they asked him, what should we do to you to make this sea calm down for us? He said, pick me up and throw me into the sea, he replied, and it will become calm. I know that it is my fault that this great storm has come upon you. Instead, the men did their best to row back to land, but they could not, for the sea grew even wilder than before. Then they cried out to the Lord, please, Lord, do not let us die for taking this man's life. Do not hold us accountable for killing an innocent man, for you, Lord, have done as you pleased." Then they took Jonah and threw him overboard, and the raging sea grew calm. At this the men greatly feared the Lord, and they offered a sacrifice to the Lord and made vows to him. Now the Lord provided a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of the fish 3 days and 3 nights. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think that a fish is the best hotel to sleep in. So, I don't know, I probably would rate it like 1 star on Yelp, but, so I think that it probably wouldn't be the greatest thing to stay in there for that long, but, even though Jonah was feeling extreme fear, what he did was he prayed. He prayed his heart out that God would forgive him and that maybe he could get out. And guess what? God let him out. And then he went to Nineveh and he preached. Even though he was scared, he went and preached. I don't know what message you got from this story, but the message I get is overcome your fear, and it's never worthwhile to run away from your problems. Because if you run away from them, they'll keep piling up. Now, I'm not saying that if you don't get over your fear, you're going to get eaten by a giant fish. But, I will say that being afraid is never the answer. Because there is one constant in your life that is always there, and it's God. He's always with you, and he's always there for you. So, since he's there for you and he'll help you see it through, you may not fear the outcome of what happens next or what lies before you. Anyways, peace.
Thank you.